All right, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to day 2 of Artist in Residence and also day 2 of Artist in Residence and Producer in Residence. I'm not sure who was here yesterday for the 2 workshops, the conversation and the concert, but I think it was a marvelous way to kick things off. We had some really engaging, interesting, thoughtful conversation, talking about life experiences, band leading, musicianship. We also heard a great concert that was recorded specifically for Humber College. So I think we're very fortunate to have had that opportunity. So we have a really exciting panel lined up, and actually I think that it's worth acknowledging that this is a historic first. We have wonderful women musicians leading a panel about band leading. From their vantage point, from their experiences as musicians, as instrumentalists, as vocalists, as arrangers, as composers, as recording artists, touring artists, and also as women. So I'm very much looking forward to muting myself and to listening to what comes up over the next hour, 90 minutes or so, and moderating the chat for various questions. If people want to chime in with questions, I can certainly moderate as best as I'm able to. But in the interim, I think that we should pass it over to Hannah Bourget-Lubiano. She will be moderating this conversation, but also she'll be chiming in as well, certainly because she is also a very talented singer, piano player, musician, composer, arranger, recording and touring artist in her own right as well. So she'll be sort of doing double duty. But first, I'm going to turn it back to her to do the Humber land acknowledgement.
Thanks so much, Andy. I was so thrilled with how our senior dean, Guillermo Acosta, delivered the land acknowledgement yesterday by speaking the official Humber land acknowledgement and then saying a few sentences about how Indigenous ways of knowing had affected his family and his position. So I think I'll do the same. Humber College is located within the traditional and treaty lands of Mississaugas of the Credit, known as Adobago, the place of the elders in Michi-Sagig language. The region is uniquely situated along Humber River watershed, which historically provided an integral connection for Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Wyandot peoples between the Ontario Lakeshore and Lake Simcoe Georgian Bay region. Now home to people of numerous nations, Adobago continues to provide a vital source of interconnection for all. We're on lands that are populated by First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. I know that Inuit does mean people, and so by First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. And the land is such a source of connection. It's featured so prominently in my life, my upbringing, and even in my music. So I just want to thank the many Indigenous women that I've been learning from in the past 2.5 years, from the books that I've read and conversations that I've had. And specifically, just want to highlight a couple of resources that have been meaningful for me. And that has been Jody Wilson Rayburn's book, From Where I Stand, Dr. Pamela Palmater, Beyond Blood, Rethinking Indigenous Identity, Dr. Kimmerer's books, Gathering Moss, and also Braided Sweetgrass, and books by Audra Simpson, Mohawk Interruptus, and others. So I'm happy to, am I passing it back over to you, Andy, or are we good to go?
Sure, I was thinking
Yes.
I would do a quick introduction. So
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Hannah, that's great. Okay, so we're very privileged today to have the opportunity to hear lots of wisdom in the room from these dynamic and wonderful women musicians who will be having a conversation over the next 90 minutes or so. I was going to say a couple of things just quickly. One is that, I've been in a number of roles at the college. I'm back on the teaching and faculty side as program coordinator and doing some teaching. Before that, I was in some administrative roles. And I bring this up only to say that I've been involved in a lot of artist in residence and producer in residence events over the years. It's a really terrific one this year. I think the diversity, the multiplicity of voices is so apparent, and I think it's really been able to, in my estimation, foster and find community even in this relatively alienating way of being on Zoom. But I think that they've been terrific thus far, and I'm sure today will be absolutely no different. And again, I think it's worth acknowledging that, while it's great to bring in American and international artists, which we continue to do, and obviously we're doing this week, it's also great to celebrate some Canadian artists and, ourselves as well, because we've got huge, tremendous talent in Canada, in Toronto, and certainly even at Humber College, and lots of that is represented today. So moderating today's proceedings, you know her, you've met her. She's the academic program manager for the college. She has a huge amount of insight, knowledge, and lived experience around issues to do with equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. So Hannah Bourget-Luviano will be our moderator, but she will also be reflecting on her own experiences as a very fine vocalist and musician and artist in her own right. We are also fortunate to be joined by a faculty member who has been with us for a very long time, teaching in a number of, she teaches in the certificate program and also in the degree program as well. A wonderful musician, and I know, although I'm sure she'll talk about it, she has a new recording out. So Amanda Tosoff will be joining us today to talk about her experiences touring as a side person, a side musician, and also a band leader. New to the faculty this year, and I'm very happy that I was able to play a small role in making that happen, is a friend of mine and a colleague and a wonderful vocalist and songwriter and recording artist as well. She's teaching some private lessons for us this year, but I'm certainly hopeful that that will be an opportunity for Dione to join more fulsomely as we go forward. So Dione Taylor is here today as well to talk about her artistry, her musicianship, and her experiences. And also we have the head of the guitar department, again, somebody that I'm proud of. I can say, because I was administration at the time, I'm very proud that I had a hand in helping Jocelyn come to Toronto and join us at Humber College, for which I'm forever grateful. And I do think that that's one of the career successes that I'm most proud of. So I'm very happy that Jocelyn Gould is here today to talk about her experiences. And maybe I'll end. Jocelyn, do you mind if I tell the story about how we met just quickly?
Of course.
Okay. Well, I think it's just a funny story, and it also maybe will, it just talks about the sort of I think there's a good musical lesson in terms of you never know. But I was going down to New York City. I knew about Jocelyn sort of by reputation, largely through a shared colleague of ours named Randy Napoleon, who's a wonderful guitar player out of the Michigan area, who Jocelyn and I both know. I'd heard about Jocelyn. I tried to look her up. I had no luck. I was looking her up on the internet. We didn't connect. I ended up at a jam session in New York City with a friend of mine, a drummer friend of mine, and I was on the bandstand, and I was, I don't know, midway through a chorus of Just in Time, and I looked up, and there was Jocelyn unpacking her guitar, and so we literally met on a stage in New York City, and connected that way. And again, I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to meet her. And then she chose ultimately to accept a job and join us here at Humber College. So with that, I would like to pass it back to Hannah Bourget-Luviano to moderate today's event. Okay, thanks very much, everyone. Enjoy the session.
All right, this is exciting. So Colleen, Amanda, Jocelyn, and Dione, will you unmute your mics? And everyone else can keep theirs muted for now. And you can write your questions in the chat, and Dr. Scott will moderate those for us. I'm super excited. Do you want to say hello?
Hello. Hello, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
We can start anywhere, but I'm super thrilled that we get to hear a little bit of music today. We get to talk about your experiences as band leaders and artists, and we could just jump in anywhere. So maybe we'll start at the beginning. What got you started leading a band? What got you started leading a band? Like, where did that happen for you?
No, after you. No.
Okay, let's see. I started conducting my first choir when I was 14 years old. I started doing that in church, and I started leading my first band when I was 16. So I was leading before I could play that good, which sounds typically bass backwards, and is reflective of my life. What about someone else?
Well, I can jump in.
Yeah, please.
I started a little bit younger than you, Hannah. I was actually 10 when I started leading the choir at my family's church in Regina, Saskatchewan. I just always had music within me and leadership and wanting to sort of give back